Now you're going to get to see an insider's look at the incredible career of Sergeant Clifford Stone. Check it out.
When the children showed up, they would go ahead and they would talk to me. They'd even help me with my homework. But they cautioned me about one thing. Don't tell others about us because they can't see us. I could see them like I can see you, you can see me. Looked like a typical children, boys and girls. Now, one guy, he's like a little blonde boy. He was the one that was closest to me. We'd go ahead and joke, and if I had no one else to play with, they'd play with me, you know. But to me, they were just children. My mom and dad and some other people, all their imaginary friends. I knew the difference between imaginary friends and what I was seeing. But I figured, you know, grown-ups are never going to understand. So I went ahead, and everything went real good. Then one day, I found this little bird that had fallen out of its nest. I grabbed the little bird, and I took it home. Just like any other child, if you have a cut, you hold the cut underneath the faucet, and it washes the blood away. When the little bird fell out of the tree, it broke its beak. And to me, you know, it was squeaking, but to me that was screaming and it was in pain. So I went ahead, put it underneath the faucet, trying to stop the blood, and naturally I killed it. And my childish-like mind, it was like I murdered someone. I thought about the bird will never see its family again. Mom and Dad's going to be worried, never knowing what's happening. Then, the little boy, he showed up. Only he wasn't a little boy no more. He had like a one-piece silver-like suit. He had this shocked expression on his face that was no longer human. And he was looking at me and, you know, literally, I could hear it in my mind, but it's like, just like you and I talking right now. He was telling me, why do you feel that way? Why do I feel that way? Why is it that you mourn this little bird? It was just a little bird. Why are you feeling the way you feel? Why such a deep sorrow and sadness over this? And he didn't like the feeling. But, you know, he went ahead and said this, and he says, what is the water in your eyes? He couldn't understand me crying. And, you know, I didn't know what to say to him. But at that point, it was no longer about worrying about the little bird or anything. It was total fear, because here was what I always thought was the little boy. No longer was the little boy. And I ran, and I tried to hide. I ran, I hid behind the sofa because it was set catacorning, and I'd get behind it. And it was like he showed up there, let me know, I'm right here. The last place I hid was between the sink and the refrigerator. And I can tell you, and you know, people don't like this, but hey, the truth's the truth. Like 3 bony fingers and an opposable bony thumb scratching me on my head, as though to say, you can run and hide, but you can't escape. Then my mom was in the hospital at that time. But my Aunt Wynn, she was taking care of us, and she made me sit in this chair because she thought I was being mean, and she thought I was out of control, so she made me sit, and I didn't want to sit in that chair. I had to go find another place to hide. But eventually, my friend came back to me, and now he looked like a little child, but I knew he wasn't a little child. I knew the truth now. There was something more to this. And very carefully, very gently, he tried to make it to where he got back into my life and tried to reassure me that nothing evil's going on, nothing evil's going to happen to me, that they mean me no harm, and explain to me, look, we select people from among your own species. Throughout life, we follow these people, and we learn about your culture from the life events in your life. And we want to learn from you. And I chose you. Our lifespan is a little more than 300 years. I will live to mourn your death. said, but I will learn a lot of wonderful things about your culture and your people from you. And I hate saying this, but I'm going to say it anyhow because I think it's so important. He says, the one thing that I like about you, you have what your people call a heart. As a child, that's crazy. Everybody's got a heart, right? But he could sense, I've always been this way. I care what happens to the other person. Myself last. And a lot of times my family don't like that because they think sometimes I put the family last too, which isn't really the case. But they got to understand, I have to care what happens to other people. But he went ahead and he told me he'd follow me throughout life. Now, at that point, I had to make a decision. I could go ahead and fight it, and it would drive me crazy. Or I could accept it and learn from it. I finally chose the latter at a very, very young age. But I didn't choose the latter until I asked my mom and dad to take me to see a doctor, because the doctor could make the monsters go away. But once again, they chalked it up just being imaginary friends. So I went ahead and accepted it, and we started to open up a dialogue from a very early age, now about 7. At the age of 7, just a couple of, not even a couple of months after that, True Magazine came out with a magazine about UFOs. And of course, True Magazine is considered a men's magazine. Well, I went to, I think the name of the drugstore was Kelso's Drugstore, and I was going to buy a copy of the book. So I went and got the book, took it up to buy it, and I was told, no, we can't sell you that. That's a man's magazine. Then I heard a voice in back of me saying, yeah, I'm interested in UFOs too. You're interested in UFOs? I turned around, there was this person in the Air Force in a captain's uniform. And he went over, got another copy, came on back over, says, I'll take 2 copies. And he says, so you're interested in UFOs? And I said, yes, sir. And he says, okay. He says, well, let's talk a little. He says, have you ever had a strawberry float? Do you like them? And I said, I don't know. I've really never had one. He says, well, we'll get 2, and if you don't like it, you don't have to drink it. So we got 2, not strawberry, but root beer floats. We got 2 root beer floats. We went, we sat down at the booth. When we sat down at the booth, he says, well, tell me, what got you interested in UFOs? And he was prodding me, because now he was bringing up things, and I wasn't picking up on it, not with a child's mind. He knew things that had happened in my life. He knew about the UFO I saw. And that was broad daylight. That was at 10 o'clock, approximately 10 o'clock in the morning. I went to get a friend of mine. His name was Michael Eubanks. And we were going to go play ball. Well, I went to his, the backyard, which was out of the alley, into the backyard, knocked on his door and started to call out for his name. All of a sudden, I heard this high-pitched whirling sound. And bright sunny day, no clouds. It was a clear blue sky. And I looked up, trying to see, because it sounded like the noise was coming from above. And there was these warehouses in back of, on the other side of the alley where his house was. And then all of a sudden, this white plate dish-shaped object came over the warehouses, flew over the open area between the warehouse and his house, and flew directly over his house. And I remember to this day, the outer ring was going clockwise, the inner ring going counterclockwise. And to me, dare I say, it was like an epiphany, because I saw something I felt I needed to share with the world. Prior to that time, I didn't believe in UFOs. I didn't believe in flying saucers. I just saw one. And I wanted the world to know that, hey, these people are talking about these things. They're not crazy. They really exist. And I went and told my family, and of course my family rejected it. But here it was. Now I'm talking to a guy that's a captain that was listening to me, that was believing what I was saying. Now, after we finished, he said, I'm going to give you a copy of the book, the magazine, but first I have to talk to your parents to make sure it's okay with them. So we went back home, and he talked to my mom, and I don't know what the conversation was because I wasn't permitted to be there. When my dad got off work, and that was a little after 3 because he worked at the Detroit Steel Mill, he came home and they talked to my dad. And then they went ahead and said, okay, you know, because Captain Brown says, well, we're friends now, so I'm going to be coming back to see him from time to time. And apparently my family agreed to this. And from that time on, every couple of weeks or so, I'd run into Captain Brown, and Captain Brown would want to know if anything new has come up, and I kept him appraised of the situation. That went on till about March of 1968. Accordingly, in March of 1968, Captain Brown was killed in a crash of a T-33 out of Lockburn Air Force Base. After that, I went ahead, still had strange things going on from time to time, but they were taking more of a back seat. But by this time, I'm a firm believer. I know we're not alone in the universe.
Now you're going to get to see an insider's look at the incredible career of Sergeant Clifford Stone.
I could see him like I can see you, you can see me. Looked like a typical children, boys and girls. Now, one guy, he's like a little blonde boy.
Check it out.
When the children showed up, they would go ahead and they would talk to me. They'd even help me with my homework. But they cautioned me about one thing. Don't tell others about us because they can't see us.